Peace, peace. This is Instructor Yasir, back with another episode of Knowledge of Survival, where we keep it real about self-defense, firearms training, fitness training, and freedom, survival tactics. We cover a nice wide base here. So today I wanted to talk about a article that I've had saved on my phone that I've been meaning to record a podcast on for a long time now. I don't even know how I found this. I think it may have came through on a tweet or something from social media. But it's talking about the title is the title of the article. This is from tier3tactical.com. So, definitely check them out. I got to give credit where credit's due. And the article is 25 gunfighting stats learned from convicted cop killers, written by this gentleman named Jake, May 10th, 2017. So I read this and I thought that it was a very interesting article because, it was it's going over statistics of criminals that have killed cops, killed officers in the line of duty. And it made me think about some things. There were some pieces that I thought were very important. I'm doing this on the fly, so bear with me. So the criminal histories are quite lengthy. Average age of the first offense being around 11 years of age, and 9 for gang members. I thought that was very interesting because my daughter's 10. So I can't imagine, her being involved in doing any type of criminal activity. That's pretty nuts. And my son, my stepson, technically, but he's my son. When I first came into his life, he was 10 years old. Matter of fact, no, actually, he was 9. And, a couple months after I first started coming around, dating his mother, he had his 10-year-old birthday. So yeah, I can't imagine him, doing any type of criminal activity. So that was very interesting to me. And, most committed larceny and were not punished for that first violation. Most of them, dealing in drug and alcohol abuse. 10. Okay, so a large chunk of the 43 offenders reported gang affiliation, and approximately 10 of those 43 were veterans of the U.S. military. So that's interesting. 10 out of the 43 offenders, 10 out of the 43 offenders that reported gang affiliation were military veterans. It's interesting. You go off to war and or you go to the military to fight for your country, and you come out and you're in a gunfight with the cops. So I thought that was telling. Now check out this excerpt from one of the offenders just to see the type of person that you can encounter when you're out on the streets. So I'm just going to read this verbatim as it's written here in the article. And, I think that I can read with some inflection where you'll kind of feel like you can get a feeling for, this type of person. Yeah, we was making a lot of money on the corner. The corner was something nice. We were making a lot of money on that corner, but there ain't nothing like a little extra dough. You might hear that there's another drug corner and they might be making 5 G's a day out there. Let's ride through there. And we used to ride through other drug corners and lay like mad people on the ground. Anybody get up off the ground, he gets shot. There was a time when me and my right-hand man, we lay like 10 people on the ground. And out of the 10 people, one person got up and started running. He got shot all in his back. I mean, that's the way it go. We empty the pockets, take the drugs, we take whatever they got on them, the drugs, the guns, the money, the weed, all that stuff. We take it all. Even if it's a nice leather jacket, we take that up off his back. He might have a leather jacket on that costs $2,000. We take it all. That don't mean that we'll wear it, but we'll take it and sell it or give it to somebody we know, a friend, a girlfriend, whoever. Pack all that stuff in the back of the car and ride. Go to the next corner. There were times we robbed corners all night, and go home and have all the stuff, put it all on the bed, and basically divide it. And after doing all that and putting so much work in, he calling this work. You go to sleep, get something to eat, and go to sleep. So this is the type of people that we dealing with out here, guys. This is the reason that I do what I do. You never know when you might encounter this type of individual. And if you encounter this type of individual, what are you prepared to do? What do you have the ability to do? Are you trained? Are you in an MMA gym? You in a boxing gym? You in a serious martial arts school somewhere? Have you put in time and effort to really train? Are you sparring? Are you getting hit and hitting other people? Do you know what it feels like to take some contact? You got a firearm. Well, first of all, do you have a firearm? Do you have a legally owned firearm? Now, the next step is, do you practice with that firearm on a regular basis? Most people who own a firearm do not practice. I repeat, most people who own a firearm do not practice. Which one are you? I mean, look, if you encounter this type of individual in the street, you might have to use that firearm. You might have to use some of that training that you got. What are you going to do? So this is what we're dealing with out here, guys. I mean, you can tell by this piece that I read, we dealing with somebody who, to the regular person, this seems like crazy. Like, who is living like this, right? Who, what are you doing? But you can see by the flavor in which this guy spoke, this is just regular life for him. This is just regular life for him. And this is everywhere, guys. This is everywhere. I mean, I can tell, by the vernacular that this is written in, that this is a Black American, or so-called African American. But I want to make it clear that this is not only in so-called Black communities. This tends to be everywhere where it's poverty. This type of things tend to be everywhere where it's poverty. So you can find this in some small town white communities too. And I'm sure, a lot of you out here listening to this, you know that to be the case. So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you might come across. But this is something that you could potentially have to deal with. So here's some other pieces that I wanted to discuss. Time frame: approximately 40% of the murders occurred during evening hours. That's not surprising. Most common assault location is the roadway. Now, of course, this is talking about officers, right? So these are officers being caught in these scenarios. Weapons. So this was a piece I really wanted to hit on. Most common weapon used was a pistol. Most common caliber was a 9mm. Okay. Most common areas of concealment: front waistband, so they carry an appendix, or the small of the back. So most of these criminals are not carrying on the hip. They usually carry an appendix carry or in the small of the back. I thought that was interesting. Now, check this out, guys. Check this out. Hit rate of offender on the officer was 68%. Hit rate of the officer on the offender was only 39%. Guys and gals, did you just hear that? The hit rate for the offender on the officer was 68%. The hit rate on the officer to the offender was only 39%. The offenders had a hit rate on officers almost double. Almost double. 68% to 39%. I mean, that's not quite double, but it's close. Average range 15%. That's close in the range of a self-defense shooting. A little bit further out. I mean, 15%. That's a little bit further out, but not far off. Most common offender shooting method is point shooting. These are not guys that are the offenders. These are not like expert marksmen. Okay, with target shooting. They just point shoot. They pointing in your general direction and letting off rounds. Percent of legally acquired gun used by offender, 0. 0%. 0% of the guns the offenders used were legally acquired. So this speaks to why is it such commotion over gun control when it's obvious that the criminals are not purchasing guns legally anyway. That's another conversation, guys, but just let that marinate for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the article writer says these are some fairly startling statistics. I agree. It's also, this is from the article, it's also commonly thought that these types of dirtbags don't practice or have any training with their weapons. This is patently false. Again, I'm continuing with the article. I'm not suggesting that they are going to IDPA matches or getting some good training, but they do have others in their gang. They teach them methods that work on the street. Don't forget those that served in the military. While some of us shooting snobs might scoff at their techniques, they were good enough to win a gunfight with a police officer. Hey, that sounds good to me. I think their skills were pretty, that's pretty good to me. You got a hit rate of almost double on the police officers. Yeah, I mean, I take that. I take that, guys. Guys, you got to train, man. When in doubt, train. You guys got to get it in. You should be hitting that range. At the very least. At the absolute least. At the bare bones, you should, once a month. I mean, but that's me being generous. I mean, I probably say you should at least be hitting the range at least twice a month. So that's once every other week. But come on. I mean, you got to get it in. Listen to this, guys. Look at this. These are the people that we encounter out in the streets. They also universally bought their weapons off of the black market, with none reporting illegal purchase. They also reported that the easiest way to obtain a weapon was to burglarize a home. If you own a firearm in your home legally, make sure you're locking it up. Make sure you are practicing home security, alarms on your home, deadbolts on your locks, windows, things like that. It's a lot more to self-defense. than we think about all the time. That also includes home security. So that also includes home security, guys. So make sure that you're getting all of that. Make sure that you're paying attention to that. Now, this is also from the article. Offenders had a higher hit rate because they almost always shot first. Many of these criminals have learned that aggression and violence are key to survival, and they are not constrained by laws or others' welfare. Man. The offender stated that they didn't attempt to aim, they just simply pointed the weapon and shot. They said that their goal was to initially disable their victim, and if they wanted to kill them, they could do so much easier after wounding them. Man, look at that, man. See, like, look at the mindset. Look at the mindset. The mindset is based on what? Knowledge of survival. The name of this podcast, the name of my company, what I'm striving to give to you guys, based on the knowledge of survival. They're not thinking about trying to be, they're not thinking about trying to get these super tight groups. They're just like, man, look, I'm going to strike first. I feel threatened, or I feel like I'm going to strike first. And now I'm putting them on the defensive. So these offenders put the cops on the defensive. This is why they had a higher hit rate. As soon as the cops saying, police, offenders letting off rounds. They're letting off shots. They're not playing these games. They trying to get out of there. They trying to win. So I think that's the most of So that those are the main pieces that I wanted to hit out of the article. And this episode is a little bit longer than what I usually record. I knew it would. That's why I was kind of sitting on it for a while, but I'm still not a super long podcast. But guys, this is what we're dealing with out here, man. I mean, there's some savages out here. So I want you to not take this information that I'm giving out here lightly. Make sure that you are taking your training seriously, but most important, make sure that you're training. I think that's really the piece that I always want to leave people with at the end, is to make sure that you are training in some form of fashion, even if you're just working on your health. Getting outside, doing some running, lifting some weights. That's training. Okay? So that will qualify as training to me. Because the fitness, if you check out my fitness for self-defense episode, I talk about how your fitness is really the foundation of all of your self-defense skills. I did an episode talking about running is a self-defense technique. How you gonna run if you're out of shape? You don't have any fitness. How are you going to get out of a situation? So make sure you're doing some training, guys. I mean, fitness training. Train with your weapon. Train striking techniques. Train your grappling. I mean, train, guys. Train. When in doubt, train. That's it, guys. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hit me with comments, questions, and I'll be back to see you soon, guys. Peace.